Welcome to the Holistic Kid Show. My name is Zane.
My name is Imal.
And my name's Kasim.
We're the Holistic Kids here to educate about kids from the inside out. Did you guys hear the new statistic?
There's so many. How am I supposed to know?
Well, the one that autism has increased to now 1 in 31 kids, and in California, it is now 1 in 12 boys who have autism.
That's crazy.
I know, but why should we worry if there isn't nothing we can do about it? Isn't that what the media tells us?
Exactly. There's so much we can do. Our food, our stress, but also our environment.
Us kids are not meant to be swimming in a toxic soup every day. And it's showing up in many ways that we can't even begin to explain. That is why we need to have this person on our podcast. Actually, she is back with us on our podcast, an amazing guest, Dr. Ailey Cohen, as she is releasing a new book, and we can't wait to talk all about it. Dr. Ailey Cohen is a triple board certified physician in rheumatology, internal medicine, and integrative medicine, and one of the country's leading medical and legal experts in environmental health. In addition to lecturing on environmental health at universities, medical schools, and physician training programs, Dr. Cohen is also co-author of the best-selling consumer guidebook, Non-Toxic Guide to Living Healthy in the Chemical World, and co-editor of the textbook Integrative Environmental Medicine. She has received countless awards for her work in health education. Today, Dr. Cohen manages the Smart Human social media platform and podcast. She created Get her new book today, Detoxify, the everyday toxins harming your immune system and how to defend against them.
We would love to know.
So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys, for having me. It's a pleasure.
Well, it really is our pleasure to have you again on our podcast. I think you met me last time, but I don't know if you met them.
I'm not sure. I don't know, but it's lovely. You guys are doing wonderful things. I'm so happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, it really is our pleasure.
Our pleasure.
Our pleasure. So we would love to hear your story.
You'd love to hear what? I'm sorry?
We would love to hear your story.
My story? Oh, gosh. Well, my story started about 15 years ago when my dog got sick, and I didn't know what made him sick. So I started to explore what he ate and what he drank and what medicines were on his body and which toys he had in his mouth. And I started to kind of explore how his environment might have contributed to his sickness. And I didn't realize that I was learning at that time, out of great heartbreak, how an environmental health survey is done, where you try to assess what goes in, on, and around your body. And it took about 15 years and a lot of learning and a lot of writing and a lot of research and a lot of listening to very smart people to gather what I believe is really important work from other people and communicating that to people into the communities that I teach about how environment affects human health, not just animal health.
Yeah,
that is amazing.
Amazing that you did that. And so we talked about a lot of animal health, but does the same work with us teens? Like, should we be worried about toxins?
Well, what we know is that there's a lot of environmental chemicals that are not regulated in the United States, that grandfathered in for over decades since they were invented into our food system, and that really have not been required to have any testing for safety or toxicity, particularly in certain vulnerable populations like children or pregnant women or the elderly who have weakened immune systems in general, or autoimmune disease patients. So we know that there may be a lot of harm coming from these chemicals, the ones that have been researched by academic facilities and researchers have shown their ability to affect hormones and to affect the way our immune system works. And so every demographic, every group of anybody really is prone to potential harm, but teenagers may be more at risk because they use more products like personal care products on a 24-hour basis than any other demographic of people. And they love cosmetics, which have a particularly high risk of having harmful chemicals in them.
Yeah, so what can all of these harmful chemicals maybe do to the body that can maybe take out like a normal routine, I guess. Like that a lot like basically how could these toxins maybe harm us teens?
Yeah, it can affect your hormones, maybe adding to risk of developing cancers like testicular cancer that affect young boys, or thyroid cancer that affect the thyroid gland. Also, risk for breast cancer later in life for young women, and especially even feminine care products that women use quite a bit. There's lots of exposures that teens are more prone to, but because their hormones are changing so rapidly, there is potential for more risk from those same chemicals that can affect hormones as opposed to, say, adults. So, yeah, I mean, it can affect things maybe not right away, maybe not necessarily asthma or, some of these conditions where we do know the immune system is part of, but it may be something that happens later on in life where you're building up your levels of chemicals in your body that can change your genes and can change the function of your physiology, in terms of hormones.
Oh yeah, that really is important because a lot of these can really like mess up our daily life as especially teens, and maybe it might even like affect our future, which is
Yeah, and even like stomach issues, when you think about immediately, like what you're asking on a day-to-day basis, some people have a lot of stomach issues that they don't really know where that's coming from, especially teens. Maybe it's stress, maybe it's junk food, maybe it's processed food with a lot of chemicals in those food products. Maybe it's not just, their cologne or their body washes, but something that they eat every day, or drinking water quality that may not be as good as it could be with chlorine and other additives.
yeah. So it's amazing that we are really talking about this because it's an issue that really needs to be discussed.
Yeah, I've been working very hard for a long time to make this conversation really get out to people that need to hear it. And it's very rewarding to see it getting so much attention now. Unfortunately, it's probably because there's a lot more sick people than we'd like to hear about. Usually when, there's a lot of sick people, there's more of a need in the media to share that material. It gets more attention. So yeah, it's good and bad, but it's getting a lot more attention, environmental health, than it ever did in the past, for sure.
Yeah, that's good. That's good that
We're trying to get out to the
yeah.
world, everybody knows, so it doesn't cause that much problems. Because especially the rise of autism epidemic is crazy. So like, what can teens do to now keep us and our future healthy?
Yeah, I'm not an autism specialist. I want to make sure that's clear. I'm a rheumatologist. I deal with the immune system. What I will say is autism has a lot of different effects, or at least a lot of different identified associations instead of causation, but associations. So there's a genetic predisposition that's been shown. There's the environment within within the uterus itself when a baby is growing, where there can be effects from environmental chemicals, because the placenta does not protect against many chemicals crossing into the fetal sac where the baby is growing. And typically autism has been identified more in utero than actually after the baby comes out. So, the argument of vaccines is a very tricky one. And it's not one that I'm going to weigh in on here, but it is something that's made a lot of attention. But I think the science can also play into the in utero, before babies get vaccinated, in utero, in the belly of the mommy first. And that's something to really, think about.
Hmm. So we were talking a lot about all these cosmetics and things that maybe make us smell nicer or appear nicer that are filled with toxins. But what about what we wear? Because I know that my mom, especially, is always telling me that to wear cotton. So, can you please explain why polyester clothes really are a problem?
You know, your mom is a smart lady. I happen to really like your mom, by the way. I've known her for a long period of time, and she is spot on. So, you know, there's lots of different exposures from different parts of our lives. One aspect is clothing, one is cosmetics, one is food, one is water, air quality within our home. You know, bringing air fresheners in is unnecessary and can bring more chemicals in. But fabric is interesting because we're now seeing that, you know, like products that we put on our skin, lotions, we can also see that, you know, fabrics, textiles have chemicals in them. They can be antimicrobial for a lot of feminine care, pantyhose and underwear, and armpits, you know, for sports clothing. But there can also be what's called the perfluoroalkyl chemicals, which are really non-stick, waterproof, you know, chemicals that are kind of keep things very shiny and sleek. So those are chemicals that would be part of the fabric in terms of the material. And then, you know, cotton is something that we would like to aim for because cotton, if it's not processed, you know, with chlorine and a bunch of other chemicals, 100% cotton and even USDA organic cotton that's managed through manufacturing, and they have some really interesting oversight on textiles, can be the best because you don't want those chemicals to absorb into your skin. And we know that skin is very absorptive. It's the largest organ on the human body, right? We have the GI tract, but the skin is by volume is probably a little bit bigger in terms of surface area. So anything you can keep off your skin, just like you would choose in personal care products, you would want to consider with purchasing when you buy fabrics. The other thing about polyester and some of these other synthetic fibers is they turn into microplastics in the washer machine. So they come off not so much into our skin. Of course, we don't absorb generally microplastics as far as the science shows, but we do know that when we wash any, you know, our favorite fleece jacket, and it's such soft material, but it's really something to think about when we're talking about washing it and having it go into our water system because it will cycle back into our drinking water. And our drinking water systems nationally are not good enough or strong enough to be able to remove every chemical, certainly, but also microplastics at this time.
You mentioned like filtering water. Like,
Mhm.
what are the best ways? Because all these chemicals going into the water, all these microplastics. What are the best ways to filter water?
Great question. Water is probably the most unrecognized contributor to human health conditions, in my opinion, and people don't really think about it. We think a lot about food. We talk a lot about different diets, but we don't talk about our drinking water, which, by the way, makes up about 85 to 90% of our bodies. So to think that that wouldn't matter and fill our bodies with clean water at the get-go kind of doesn't make sense, but we don't always think about it. And I was one of those people. But when it comes to filtering water, any filtration is better than none. So no matter what people choose, whether it's a pitcher filter, which is a carbon block filter, it's a block of carbon, or a refrigerator door filter is also similar. Or if we get more aggressive, we can find reverse osmosis water filters. Reverse osmosis or RO filters are the most aggressive way that we as consumers can clean our drinking water and purchase in the US market. So it makes a lot of sense to be considering reverse osmosis on your countertop, underneath your sink. But that material is very tightly woven and it basically catches stuff, catches the smallest stuff you can think of, like, you know, viruses and bacteria, and even the larger, you know, synthetic compounds like perfluoroalkyls. It's very good at that, and BPA. So yeah, it's something to consider, reverse osmosis, and it doesn't have to be right away, but we want to consider it for home renovations. If you move to a new apartment, you can put them in very easily and it shouldn't be a problem.
That's amazing. And especially with water, another thing we need is air.
Yeah. What is the best way to filter your air?
The best way to filter your air is by not buying junk and bringing it into your home to begin with. the less you buy in terms of things that fill the air, even though the marketing and TV tells us otherwise. We don't want to bring air fresheners that are synthetic and smell and plug into our walls or we spray. We don't want to bring candles that we don't really know where they come from or have really strong perfume or fragrance into our homes, because fragrance or perfume can have up to 300 chemicals, even just in the label of perfume or fragrance. So removing them or not buying them or not bringing into your home and not burning them is a really good way to keep your air quality at home much cleaner and safer. Opening windows, buying plants that clean the air is really smart. Getting an air filter if you really want to certainly is worthwhile. And there's a variety of low cost air filters that people can get. Buying a CO2 meter, which you can get on Amazon to see if your carbon dioxide levels are within normal range or a healthy range. So there's really lots that we can do. But I always say start with the easiest stuff first. I write about that in my book, Detoxify. Start with the stuff like not bringing it into your home in the first place.
That is amazing.
Amazing.
Amazing. So with we've talked a lot. Let's talk a little bit more about things that teens use a lot. Like, I mean, we talked about cosmetics and we've talked about air and water, but lately a lot of people have been doing a lot of screen time. So, does screen time have any specific toxins maybe? Because I hear a lot of digital detox. What does that like specifically mean?
Yeah, I'm not aware of chemicals around technology other than flame retardant chemicals that are infused in cords and around casings of computers and TVs. And typically those chemicals will fall into the ground, into dust, which is why I recommend everyone dust their home really well with water wipes and use a HEPA filter vacuum and do that regularly for chemicals that come from tech toys and couches. But in general, we worry about kind of, screen time. I have teenage boys. One of them might pop in any second, actually, from his lacrosse game. But teen kids, teens and adults actually as well. We spend a lot of time on our technology, and it's really, it can be stressful. It can make us think we should be, thinner or smarter or happier. And in fact, it's all kind of not reality. Spending less time on technology is good for our brains. It's less radiation. It helps our eyes become healthier over time instead of maybe get a little strained. So we really should try to get as much nature in as possible and avoid technology if we can.
Yeah, that is amazing. Because especially because so much kids are just their eyes are stuck on their screens, and
Yeah.
I mean it leads to lots more than things like depression, maybe anxiety, because of all these wanting more and not being grateful. So yeah, that's definitely a good point.
Yeah. Thank you.
So,
With with um with these electronics, there are also electromagnetic fields. What can you talk about electromagnetic field, EMFs?
So EMFs are radiation that come off of a lot of our technology, but when it comes to phones, it's the way the antenna on the phone connects with the cellular tower. And it's about 90 pulses, believe it or not, per second of communication, which is why you want to stay away from the radiation coming to and from. So the idea is that you want to use airplane mode if you can, and turn off your phone so there's not a lot of radiation coming towards you and it's not near your groin or your breasts or anything close to your body or your head. And at night, I make my boys turn it on airplane mode because they shouldn't get texts from their friends anyway, so they get better sleep, but they also shouldn't have that radiation coming to their phone and sleeping near their head. I'm going to let my kids get into the car now, and they're going to be very quiet, right? I'm going to let them get in, but be very quiet. Keep going, guys. Your questions are great.
so what are some of the top tips you have for teens to help their body detoxify?
So some of my top recommendations are thinking about your quality drinking water, trying to filter, asking your parents to filter your water at home, whether it's a filter with a pitcher or reverse osmosis, trying less technology, keeping it away from your body, thinking about less processed foods, vetting your cosmetics and personal care products by looking them up on Skin Deep Database or Clearya or Yuka, or Think Dirty apps. So those are the main ones, and they do the most good if we can try to keep to that. Getting good sleep, eating nutritious foods are so critical to human health. So I really encourage that, and reducing stress to manage the gut microbiome.
We have also heard that toxins can affect multiple different generations. Like it can affect our children and their children. So is it important for us kids to really be careful about the toxins around us? So we can keep us and our future healthy? Is this stuff true or is it fake news?
No, it's not fake news. We can have environmental effects that affect our genetics from one generation to another. It can affect our genes, which carries over in pregnancy to our next generation. And these are very subtle genetic changes, but they can add up. And we can also improve our genetics by eating clean, by eating nutritious. And that's how we can offset some of those, potential risks. So again, it goes back to evolution and anthropology and the idea that we were built on clean air, clean water, less toxic foods, less cosmetics that have chemicals, and that adding nutrition is so critical to keeping our cells healthy and also our organs healthy. So it's a combination of taking away chemicals that harm us and then adding in sweating and nutrition and great sleep and less stress. That's the combo that wins.
Wow. So I've also I have a question about like if toxins are artificial or are toxins like just have they been there for a long time? Because I
So
know a toxin is just something that doesn't really belong in the body. So like have they been there forever or are they just new?
So we've had so many new environmental chemicals that are not tested or are harmful since about World War II. That's the 1950s, way before you guys were born. But that's when we had a really big jump in the creation of these chemicals for lots of products that we use, chemicals like in plastics. And unfortunately, they've been around, but they're not required for testing. So the unfortunate thing is that they're here to stay. They're in a lot of things that we use and put on our bodies. And unfortunately, we have to do this for ourselves where we think about how chemicals affect our body and how we can better handle, how they get into us and avoid that instead of waiting for regulation to change, which is much too slow for human health, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like detoxification, like episode baths or like sweating from like running and doing activities, can you also increase our detoxification from foods or any certain foods that we can eat?
Yeah, certain foods like, cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and kale and all those greens that a lot of parents have a hard time getting their kids eating, those are actually really good for us. And they actually churn up the liver's ability to break down chemicals and get them out of the body. So we want to harness the benefits of certain foods that really offset toxin exposure. We want clean water. We want to think about onions and alliums, which is like scallions. Those are all sulfur related foods that help the body detoxify. And we want to keep our liver healthy and our kidneys healthy and all our organs healthy by, making sure we're hydrated. We're checking up with our doctors. We're checking blood work routinely, and we're not taking too many medications that we may not need.
What is one thing kids can do today to help our body detoxify?
The one thing kids can do today is to, I think about in their rooms if they have any candles or incense or fragrance or colognes or perfumes. A lot of teenagers have lots of products. Try to look up your cosmetics and personal care products, your shampoo, your soap, and it's very simple, takes only a second, and look to see whether they have chemicals in them that are harmful. Look at the rating and then maybe choose better, because teens are really the most, they're the group that uses so many of those products. That's a really great place to have control and choose what you put in on and around your body through looking those up.
Wow, you are so inspirational.
So amazing. And you also have an amazing book. Can you tell us more about that and where everybody needs to get it today?
Thank you for asking. So the book Detoxify is my third book, but it's the big one that's going to consumers. And it really connects the dots between our environment and all the exposures in our environment that we're seeing now and our high rate of immune and autoimmune diseases and conditions. So I really wanted to reframe the conversation, not just about hormonal changes that I've written about in the past, that we have lots of robust universal literature and medical journals to write about on that topic, but really talking about the framing around the immune system and how to better protect our immune system, reduce our disease risk, and really shape the destiny of our health.
Mhm. It is really important to start shaping it, because ever since the Industrial Revolution, I guess, we've been starting to go downhill. So it's
Yeah.
really good that if we all work together, we can create the new health revolution, the teen revolution.
Yeah, here. That's great. Yes.
So this was amazing. So in general, where can people learn more about you and your amazing work?
Oh, you're sweet. You guys are great. So I'm available to be reached. I work in Princeton. I'm here now at a lacrosse game, but I work in Princeton, New Jersey. If people want to visit me as a rheumatologist or an environmental health specialist, I also do telemedicine, and I also post on my platform, The Smart Human. TheSmartHuman.com has courses that I share on pesticides, on drinking water, on EMF radiation, like you asked. But so people can find me by following The Smart Human on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, even my podcast, The Smart Human, where your mom was a guest a few years back. I was thrilled to have her. And so people can reach out and follow this material, or they can find the book Detoxify on Amazon and other booksellers.
Wow, that's amazing. So everyone watching this podcast should definitely check it out. Now let's recap Dr. Cohen's key points.
Toxins are all around us. They have been so many that we have been trickling into our world. Teen hormones are changing rapidly. We may not see these effects now, but it can actually change our genes and our hormone effects. Toxins can affect our epigenetics, and it's important for us and our future to lower toxins the best we can.
You got it, guys. That was awesome.
So now first you should filter your water. Water is a very thing that a lot of people ignore, but it's super important. So look to see if your cosmetics or personal care products can have toxins and find cleaner options. Eat clean and nutritious. I mean, if we haven't talked about it a lot, it is very, very important for your body to eat clean and nutritious.
Some foods like broccoli and some green foods also help detoxification with the liver.
And choose cotton clothes. Lots of these polyester clothes or other types of clothes have lots of microplastics. And microplastics, putting it on our most of our largest organism of our body is our skin. We don't want to put all those chemicals on our skin.
Keep your air clean. Fragrance or perfume can over 300 chemicals. So stop using that. So stop bringing into your home. And limit EMFs. You can put on airplane mode or just not use it at all if you really want to do it. That keep it away from you when you're sleeping. It'll limit EMFs.
You got it.
So thank you, thank you again, Dr. Cohen. This was so fun. Thank you again for all your amazing work.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys, and thanks for having me on. You're doing such great work, so I'm really proud of you guys as well. So keep doing your great things.
Thank you so much. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Until next time, I'm Zanzari.
I'm Iman.
And I'm Kasim.
Follow our social media on the Holistic Kid Show. And check out for our next book coming out November 2025.
Our first book.
Our first book, The Teen Health Revolution. I talked a little bit about like the revolution. So you should definitely also check that out November. Put that on your list. So thank you again for tuning in. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much. Be well. Bye, Medea.